Calls for $1,500 lockdown payments. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee, because we're going to talk about the calls for lockdown payments to people and businesses struggling in Victoria. If you haven't been following the news, they're now in a 7-day lockdown in Victoria for an increase in cases of the pandemic that have been brought in from, well, South Australia. It's a messy situation. There isn't even a discussion anymore over whether the lockdowns are effective, questions about if they actually mitigate the spread. It's now just de facto accepted as 100% effective. The government, there's going to be criticisms now in the media and from certain parts of our community for not implementing lockdowns. I'm really concerned how long this is going to last. Epidemiologists used to argue against these type of interventions because of the widespread economic and mental health impacts that it would have. It's not going to play out for a few years. I wonder, one day we may see a royal commission into this mess when we're all older and grayer, perhaps. But before we jump into this article, let's have a look at, well, the government coming to the rescue. They've been doing it in a few ways, particularly over the last year. They've been keeping zombie companies alive. This is what scares me the most, is changes to trading while insolvent provisions, where companies entering external administration and even personal insolvencies are down, are much lower than where they should be. This is scary because I'm a small business owner, and you have to do all this work, provide all these services. Be even tougher for a tradie actually installing something into a project, and they don't pay you. So the timeframes have changed. You've got JobKeeper, and we can see in Victoria, it had at one point 8.76% of the workforce being supported by JobKeeper. Now that's all gone. I suspect this was done because Centrelink couldn't handle the influx of people going there, so they wanted to maintain the relationships. And there's some businesses that didn't even need it. But this is the problem, guys. If your competitor is getting it, you need to get it, or you're at a competitive disadvantage. This is what happens when the government intervenes in the economy. They mess the whole thing up. So don't feel bad about anyone who's taken advantage of JobKeeper. I'm sure there are a lot of people that are just too lazy and couldn't be bothered. Or there's some tradies that just took a month off and then went back to work and got JobKeeper. They've been juicing the market, guys. Cash rates low. You've got 5 and 2% government guaranteed loans. You've got negative gearing, first home buyer and other grants up to 88 grand, and home builder, which is shooting up approvals. They've been intervening a lot. And you've got reduced housing supply. The biggest thing was the home loan deferrals. Now, all of this comes at a price that we haven't felt yet, that is going to be, well, it's going to take generations before it's even dealt with. 2080, the predictions that the $1.3 trillion in debt will disappear. Fantastic, eh? So, keep with that in mind. Let's have a look at these calls for a $1,500 lockdown payment as Victoria shuts down again. Because there's some businesses that are just, they're going to struggle. And we'll look at that in another article. Because lockdown risk is now a normal part of business, particularly in Victoria. You've got a plan for it. So how can you deal with that with your food stuff if you're a restaurant or cafe? The National Small Business Advocacy Group has called for government leaders to introduce a lockdown payment to help local businesses deal with lost profits as Victoria grapples with its fourth lockdown. See, the $1,500, it's going to be nothing for some businesses. It'll barely be a drop in the ocean. What if you got 20 grand worth of food stock that you need to throw out? The Council of Small Business Organisations Australia is urging the National Cabinet, made up of the Prime Minister and the State and Territory Premiers and Chief Ministers, to introduce a financial assistance program to help businesses forced to go into COVID-19 lockdowns. Well, maybe it should just be the Victorian government's issue. Just put another tariff on every one of your citizens. Every time you put a lockdown. I wonder how happy they'll be with their free money they're getting then. This should be modelled on a scheme in New Zealand has in place called the Resurgence Support Program, which permits eligible businesses to apply for either $1,500 plus $400 per full-time worker, or 4 times the business's actual revenue fall during lockdown periods, which as ever is of lesser value. COSBOA Chief Peter Strong accused Australia of falling behind our Kiwi counterparts and said the National Cabinet has chosen to turn inwards and play politics. We're more than 12 months on from the start of the pandemic, remember? 2 weeks to flatten the curve, guys. Have you been to a hospital throughout this time? It hasn't been like the movies. Nothing's been stretched. At least the number of times I've been to hospitals here in Queensland. You know, come on, everyone. We're more than 12 months on from the start of the pandemic and have experienced multiple local lockdowns in almost all of our capital cities, Strong said. We know that they will happen again. This is the thing now. It's just part of the response. That's it. People are going, you know, it's going to be forever, and it may not. It's not like I would argue it's not a sinister plan where they're going to lock us down forever. I'm going, there's now political imperative to show action. To show action. So particularly on the Labor premiers, they're all doing it. They're all doing it. We're no different here in Queensland. It's when you look at the cost to risk ratio, it doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. The damage that they're doing to the economy, and if you damage an economy, you damage lives, everyone. For what? What's the mortality risk? We should be doing this for smoking then, or for eating sugar. You know, come on. There's no excuse for not having a nationally consistent business support payment ready to be activated when lockdown is called. The danger of all of this stuff, all of this growing dependency on the state, is it paves the way for more acceptance of left-leaning socialist policies. That's the real danger. That's the sinister danger to all of this. People start to accept it. Do you think people from the Council of Small Business Organizations, do you think they're a bunch of radical lefties that are calling for government UBI and support for businesses? Not a chance. Where's their statement? Again, is any organization in Australia actually critical of the lockdowns? Are any of them coming out going, you know, saying that epidemiologically this has been proven to have limited the mathematical models that have been published that are saying the effect of its effectiveness in mitigating the mortality has not been proven. The 7-day circuit breaker lockdown will be Melbourne's fourth since COVID-19 pandemic began in March last year. From 11:59 Thursday the 27th of May until the 3rd of June, Victorian residents may not leave their home unless it's for one of 5 reasons. The lockdown is estimated to cost Victorian businesses $1 billion, and more than 15,000 people are already in isolation amid a growing list of more than 120 exposure sites. There you go, everyone. So what is the solution to this, guys? What is the solution? My slides are jumping all over the place. Well, I would advocate we need to increase our financial literacy so people appreciate the fact that all of these lockdowns are having economic consequences. But we need a freedom from debt so people have more imperative to think individually. I'm more worried that these are just going to be the default response again and again and again. What do you think, everyone? And I feel real sorry for those businesses in Victoria. I tell you, with all of this, I'm really glad I scaled back a couple of years ago. I got rid of my retail premises. We had our architectural office in a retail center. I got rid of all my staff. Really cut my costs right down to the bone because this would be a nightmare to go through. You got to feel sorry for them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and enjoy the content I create here, there are a few ways you can support us. Simply sharing the channel. Liking and commenting helps us with all the YouTube algorithm magic. You can support us financially via signing up to YouTube or Patreon, using our links at affiliate links at SelfWealth or Stake, Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or AussieBroadband. Buying our merch from HeiseSays. We have pocket squares handmade in this very own house, using gold paths from the Perth Mint or supporting us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.